Mark had grown used to silence. His small house stood at the edge of town, away from the busy streets and glowing signs. The nights there were dark and heavy, broken only by the hum of insects and the faraway cry of a stray dog. Inside the house, Mark sat at the kitchen table, staring at the bills in front of him. His face looked older than his age, marked with tired lines. Life as a single father had been harder than he ever imagined. He worked long hours at the factory, came home late, and tried his best to give his daughter, Lily, a normal life. But tonight, like many nights before, he felt the weight of failure pressing on him. In the next room, Lily slept soundly. She was only 10, with a bright smile that reminded him of her mother. Sometimes, when the house was too quiet, Mark would pause and listen to her soft breathing. It gave him strength. The clock ticked toward midnight. Mark rubbed his eyes, closed the folder of unpaid bills, and stood up to switch off the lights. That was when he heard it. Knock, knock, knock. His heart skipped a beat. No one visited this late. No one ever came at this hour. The knock was slow, heavy, and carried through the still night air. Mark froze. His first thought was danger. In this neighborhood, you didn't open the door after dark. But then the knock came again, softer this time, almost weak. Lily stirred in her room. He didn't want her to wake. He moved quietly to the door, every step cautious. Who's there? His voice was low, firm, hiding the fear crawling up his chest. For a moment, there was no reply. Then came a whisper, hoarse, fragile, and strange. Please, let me in, Mark hesitated. It was a woman's voice, old, tired, almost broken. Against his better judgment, he unlocked the door and opened it just a crack. What he saw made his blood run cold. An old woman stood there, hunched and trembling. Her clothes were torn, dusty, as if she had traveled a great distance. Her hair was white, falling in tangled strands over her shoulders. But what struck him most were her eyes, silver, glowing faintly in the moonlight. For a second, Mark thought he was dreaming. She didn't look normal. Something about her face, her skin, her presence. It felt wrong. I just need one night, she said, clutching the door frame. Just a place to rest. Mark's mind raced. A stranger, out of nowhere, at midnight. Every instinct told him to shut the door, to keep his daughter safe. But something in the woman's voice, something desperate, made him pause. He looked back toward Lily's room, then at the trembling figure before him. Against all logic, against all sense, he opened the door wider. Come in, he said quietly. The woman stepped inside. The moment she crossed the threshold, the air seemed to shift. The lights flickered. A soft buzz filled the room like the hum of hidden machinery. Mark frowned, but the old woman walked slowly to a chair and sat down. She looked exhausted, her hands shaking as she tried to steady herself. Her hands. Mark noticed them now. They were long, too long, with thin fingers that ended in sharp points. Under her pale skin, faint blue lines glowed as if light ran through her veins. Mark's throat went dry. He wanted to ask questions, to demand answers, but Lily appeared at the doorway in her nightdress, rubbing her eyes. Daddy? Who is she? Lily asked softly. The old woman turned her head toward the child. For a moment, her glowing eyes softened. She smiled, a weak, sad smile. Just a traveler, Mark answered quickly. Go back to bed, sweetheart, but Lily didn't move. She stared at the old woman as if drawn to her. The woman lifted her hand, almost reaching out, then stopped herself. I won't stay long, the woman said in a low voice. I just need to rest, please. Mark nodded stiffly. Fine, one night. Tomorrow you leave. The woman gave no argument. She leaned back in the chair, closing her eyes as if sleep had already claimed her. Mark led Lily back to her room, whispering that everything was fine. But when he returned to the kitchen, the old woman was still awake. Her eyes were half open, staring not at him, not at the room, but at the window. The sky outside was dark and empty, but she whispered words he did not understand, a language sharp and strange, flowing like water but heavy like thunder. Mark stood frozen in the hallway, the hair on his arms rising. He knew at that moment that this woman was not just lost, not just human, and he realized something even more frightening by letting her in. He had opened his home to something far beyond his understanding. The clock ticked past midnight. The house stood silent, but inside an unknown presence had already begun to change everything. The morning came quietly, but the house did not feel the same. Mark woke up early as he always did, but there was a weight in the air, as if the night had left behind something unseen. The kitchen smelled of bread and coffee. Mark moved carefully, making breakfast for Lily. He tried to act normal, but his mind was restless. He could not forget the way the old woman's silver eyes had glowed in the dark. He could not forget the strange language whispered at the window. When Lily entered, rubbing her sleepy eyes, the first thing she asked was not about school, not about breakfast. She asked, "Daddy, is she still here?" Mark froze with the coffee cup in his hand. He glanced toward the living room. Yes, she was there. The old woman sat silently in the corner chair, hands folded in her lap. In the morning light, she looked fragile, her thin frame hidden under a long gray robe. But up close, Mark could see details that unsettled him. Her skin was pale, not pale like illness, but pale like stone, smooth and almost shining. Faint lines of blue still glowed beneath it, like rivers of light under glass. When she noticed Lily watching, the old woman gave a small smile. It was not unfriendly, but it carried sadness, as if she had lived through centuries of pain. Lily whispered to her father, "She doesn't look like other people." Mark didn't answer. Instead, he set Lily's plate on the table and turned to the guest. "You need to tell me who you are," he said firmly. His voice was low, controlled, but sharp enough to cut through the quiet. The woman looked at him for a long moment, her silver eyes unblinking. Then she said only one word, "Traveler." Mark's jaw tightened. "Traveler from where?" She did not reply. Instead, she picked up a piece of bread with her long, thin fingers. She brought it to her mouth and chewed slowly, like someone tasting food for the first time. Lily giggled softly. "She eats funny." The woman looked at the child, then at Mark. For a moment, something like fear flickered in her glowing eyes. "I cannot stay long," she said in a soft voice. "You should not have opened the door." Those words made Mark's stomach twist. "What do you mean?" he demanded. But the old woman did not answer. She placed the bread down gently and returned to her silence. Later that day, Mark left for work, his mind storming with questions. Who was she? Why his house? Why his daughter? But it was Lily who noticed the first strange thing. While her father was gone, she sat near the guest, drawing with crayons. She liked to draw houses, trees, and stars. The woman watched quietly, her glowing eyes soft as she studied the little girl's sketches. "You draw stars," the woman whispered at last. "Yes," Lily said. "I like the sky. My mom used to tell me the stars are like windows. People can look through them." The old woman's face grew still. "Your mother was wise." Lily tilted her head. "Do you like the stars too?" The woman's silver eyes reflected the child's drawing. "I lived among them." Lily blinked. She wanted to ask more, but before she could, the woman touched the paper. Her long finger traced over Lily's star drawing, and for a moment, the crayon stars glowed faintly as if the paper had come alive. Lily gasped. "Magic," she whispered. "Not magic," the woman said softly. "Memory." That evening, Mark came home and found Lily sitting close to the woman, showing her drawings. His heart sank. He had wanted distance, but his daughter seemed to feel something else. Trust. He pulled Lily aside. "Stay away from her, okay? We don't know who she is." "But Daddy," Lily whispered. "She's nice." She said she lived in the stars. Mark's chest tightened. He looked at the old woman, who remained calm, unbothered, watching them with those glowing eyes. "Why are you here?" Mark asked again. His voice was sharp now, angry. This time the woman spoke slowly, carefully. "Because I am being hunted, and your world is not safe anymore." Mark felt the blood drain from his face. Hunted by who? The woman's gaze moved toward the window where the night was settling in again. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "They are already close." The words chilled the room. Before Mark could demand answers, Lily gasped. "Daddy, look!" On the lawn outside in the fading light, black shapes burned into the grass, perfect circles, charred and smoking, as if something heavy and hot had landed there during the night. Mark rushed to the door, staring at the strange marks. His heart pounded. He turned back, but the old woman was already standing, her glowing eyes fixed on the horizon. "They will find me," she said. "And when they do, they will not stop at me. They will take everything. Even your child." Mark felt cold fear grip him. He stepped in front of Lily protectively. "Over my dead body." The woman did not smile. She only whispered one last warning. Then prepare yourself, because the hunt begins tonight. The factory floor was loud, but Mark could not hear it. Machines roared, metal clashed, men shouted orders, yet his mind was somewhere else. He kept seeing the silver-eyed woman sitting in his house whispering about being hunted. Every sound at work felt sharper, heavier. Even the simple hiss of steam made him flinch. He told himself he was imagining things, but deep down he knew something had changed. At lunch, one of his co-workers slapped his shoulder. "You look like hell, Mark. You okay?" "Didn't sleep much," Mark muttered. He didn't dare explain. Who would believe him if he said an alien was sitting in his living room, warning him about hunters? When his shift ended, Mark stepped into the parking lot. The evening sky was gray, heavy with clouds. That was when he noticed the black van. It was parked across the street. Its windows were dark. The engine was off, but he had the strangest feeling, like eyes were watching him. He turned quickly, forcing himself not to stare. But his heart pounded harder with every step toward his truck. By the time he reached his house, the van was gone. Lily ran to him as soon as he opened the door. Her face was pale, her hands clutching his shirt. "Daddy," she whispered. "Someone was outside. I saw shadows moving in the yard." Mark's stomach twisted. He pulled her close, scanning the windows. The curtains were drawn, but he could feel it. The same unseen weight pressing against the house. The old woman was waiting in the living room. She did not look surprised. "They are near," she said quietly. Mark's anger rose. "Who are they? What do they want?" The woman's glowing eyes flickered. "They want me, and what I carry. But if they cannot take it, they will take the child." Mark's face hardened. He stepped between her and Lily. "No one is taking my daughter." The woman's voice was calm, almost cold. "You opened the door to me. That choice cannot be undone." Before Mark could argue, a strange sound echoed outside. Low, sharp, like metal scraping across glass. Lily clung tighter to her father. "Daddy, it's them." Mark grabbed the baseball bat he kept by the door. His hands shook, but his eyes were steady. The woman moved to the window. She pulled the curtain back just enough to look outside. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "They are testing the house, waiting." The hours crawled. Mark kept Lily close, every creak of the wood making his nerves jump. The old woman never sat down. She stood at the window, silent like a soldier waiting for battle. At midnight, the lights flickered. The same strange hum from the night before filled the air, stronger now, vibrating through the walls. Mark's heart slammed in his chest. He whispered to Lily, "Stay behind me." Outside, the yard was no longer empty. Shadows moved between the trees, not human shadows. Mark saw them only for a second when the porch light flickered. Tall figures, too thin, too sharp, with glowing edges like armor made of smoke. The air turned colder. Lily whimpered. "Daddy, they're here." The old woman stepped forward. Her silver eyes burned brighter, casting light across the room. She raised her hand, and for the first time Mark saw her skin split faintly with cracks of blue fire, like energy trying to escape. "They found us," she whispered, "and they will not leave empty-handed." Mark tightened his grip on the bat. He had never felt more powerless. He was just a tired factory worker, a single dad barely surviving. But now he was standing in front of monsters. The first knock rattled the door. Not like a human knock, this was a heavy strike enough to shake the frame. "Stay inside," Mark shouted, even though he wasn't sure who he was talking to, Lily, the woman, or himself. The old woman moved toward the door. "If I go out, they will follow. If I stay, they will break through." Mark blocked her path. "You're not going anywhere." For the first time, she looked at him with something like respect. Her silver eyes softened. "You would stand against them? Even knowing you cannot win." Mark's voice was rough. "I don't care. Nobody touches my daughter." The second strike came, harder, splintering the wood. Lily screamed. Mark pulled her back, every muscle in his body shaking. The woman placed her glowing hand against the wall. The house groaned as if the wood itself felt the energy. For a moment the lights steadied, holding against the darkness outside. But it wouldn't last. The third strike cracked the door in half. Cold air rushed in. Through the opening, Mark saw them clearly. Dark figures, faceless, with armor that shimmered like liquid metal. Their weapons glowed with the same blue fire as the woman's veins. One stepped forward, pointing its blade inside. The woman raised her voice for the first time, sharp and commanding. "Not the child. Me." Mark's blood turned to ice. The hunters did not answer. They only moved closer, slow and silent, their glowing blades cutting through the air. Mark tightened his grip on the bat, knowing it was useless. Lily cried into his shirt. The old woman's body glowed brighter and brighter, energy crawling across her skin like lightning. She looked at Mark one last time. "Tonight," she said, "you will learn the truth about what walks among your stars." And then the window exploded in a shower of glass as the hunters stormed inside. The glass had not even finished falling when the first hunter moved. It slid through the broken window like a shadow wearing armor, tall and sharp-edged, its body glowing faintly with lines of cold blue light. The creature made no sound. Only its weapon hummed, a long blade that curved like a claw, dripping with sparks that hissed against the wooden floor. Mark pushed Lily behind him, his bat raised. His heart thundered so loud it drowned out thought. He was no soldier, no fighter, but he was a father. That had to be enough. The old woman did not hesitate. Her frail form lit up with sudden power, cracks of light racing down her arms. When she lifted her hand, the glow erupted like fire, and a blast of blue energy struck the hunter square in the chest. The creature staggered but did not fall. It hissed a sound like metal grinding and charged forward again. Mark swung his bat with all his strength. The wood cracked against the hunter's side. The creature barely flinched, but it turned its head toward him now, its faceless mask reflecting Mark's pale, terrified face. "Daddy!" Lily screamed. The old woman stepped between them, her body trembling with effort as she raised another surge of energy. Light burst from her hand, slamming into the hunter again. This time it was thrown across the room, smashing into the wall with a crash that shook the house. But before anyone could breathe, 2 more hunters entered through the broken door. The living room became chaos. The hunters moved in silence, their blades glowing as they slashed through furniture and walls. Sparks rained down, smoke filled the air. Mark swung wildly, knocking a lamp into one of the creatures, but it was like striking stone. The old woman fought with light and fire. Every strike from her hand sent shockwaves through the air, rattling the glass, shaking the floor. She was no fragile elder now. She was something else, something ancient, something terrible. Yet every blast weakened her. Mark saw it, the way her body shook, the way her breath grew shallow, the way the glow beneath her skin flickered like a dying flame. One hunter's blade came down toward Lily. Mark dove, throwing himself over his daughter. He felt the heat of the weapon pass inches from his back. The floor scorched where it struck. The old woman screamed, and light exploded from her body in a violent wave. The hunters were thrown backward, crashing into the walls, leaving cracks across the plaster. Mark pulled Lily to her feet. "Run bedroom now!" But the woman's voice stopped him. "No, stay close to me. They will follow the child." Mark froze. His chest heaved, sweat dripping down his face. Why her? Why Lily? The woman's silver eyes blazed. Because she carries what they fear most. The hunters rose again. Nothing seemed to kill them. Burned, beaten, smashed against walls, they kept moving, silent, relentless. The old woman clutched the glowing object under her robe. With a trembling hand, she revealed it fully for the first time. It was small, no larger than a stone, but alive. Its surface pulsed with shifting patterns, lines of light moving like rivers, forming shapes that were not human letters. Every pulse filled the air with a low hum, the same sound Mark had felt since the night she arrived. The hunters stopped for the first time. Their glowing weapons lowered slightly. The object had their full attention. The woman's voice was sharp, commanding. "You will not have it." She raised the object high, and the room filled with light. The hunters hissed, their bodies trembling, their forms flickering as if the glow burned them. Mark shielded Lily's eyes. The light was too bright, too heavy, pressing into his mind, filling his skull with strange whispers. He saw flashes of stars, ships, and wars far beyond Earth. When the light dimmed, 2 hunters had vanished. But the third still stood, its armor cracked, its body sparking. It turned its faceless head toward Mark. And then it spoke. Its voice was broken, layered like 1,000 whispers at once. "The child belongs to us." Mark's blood turned to ice. The old woman screamed, unleashing the last of her energy in one violent strike. The hunter was blasted through the broken door, skidding across the yard until its body shattered into pieces of glowing ash. The house went silent again. Smoke curled from the walls. Furniture was broken, glass was everywhere. Lily sobbed into her father's chest. The old woman collapsed into the chair, her glowing skin dimming. She looked weaker than ever, her breath uneven. Mark stood trembling, still holding his daughter. His voice cracked with rage and fear. "You bring this to my house? You bring this to my child?" The woman lifted her fading eyes to him. "I had no choice. The hunt follows me, and now it follows her." Mark shook his head. "Why, she's just a kid." The woman reached out a shaking hand toward Lily. "Not just a child. A signal, a key. She is tied to what I carry. That is why they will never stop." Mark pulled Lily away, holding her tighter. His whole world felt like it was breaking apart. The woman coughed, blue light flickering from her mouth as if even her breath was not human. She whispered, "You must decide, Mark. Keep running, or stand and fight. But know this, if they take her, it will not be only your daughter who is lost. It will be your entire world." Mark's heart pounded. His hands shook. He looked at Lily, terrified and crying, then at the broken door, where ash still smoked on the lawn, and he realized the war had already reached his doorstep. The night dragged into silence. The hunters were gone, their ashes fading into the wind outside. But the house was no longer a home. The floor was cracked, the door shattered, the walls burned with black scars. Smoke lingered in the air. Mark sat at the kitchen table, his bat still in his hands. Lily leaned against him, exhausted from crying, her small body trembling with every sound. Across from them, the old woman rested in her chair. Her glow had dimmed to faint threads of light under her skin. She looked like she might fade away completely. Yet her silver eyes stayed sharp. Finally, Mark broke the silence. His voice was low but heavy with anger. "No more half answers. No more games. You tell me exactly who you are or I throw you out. I don't care if more of those things come. I won't let you destroy my daughter's life." The woman's eyes closed for a moment. Her breath rattled. Then she spoke. "My name would mean nothing to you. In my tongue it is lost. But once I was a guardian, a leader. I belonged to a people who walked the stars when your kind was still learning fire." Mark tightened his grip on the bat. "Alien," he muttered. The woman gave a faint smile. "Yes, but not the kind you imagine in stories. My people, we were not conquerors. We were keepers. We guarded the flow of knowledge, the bridges between worlds. We believed life, wherever it grew, deserved its chance to rise." Mark's voice was bitter. "So why are you here? Why at my door?" Her eyes darkened. "Because I failed. I was betrayed. Others of my kind, hunters, chose a different path. They saw life as fuel, not as hope. They took power that was not theirs, and I escaped with the one thing they could not have." She lifted the small glowing object. It pulsed faintly, filling the room with whispers and hums. "This," she said, "is a seed. It holds memories of 1,000 worlds, knowledge, power. If the hunters claim it, they will use it to rule, to break, to strip every planet until nothing remains but silence." Mark stared at the object, then at his daughter. His voice shook. "What does that have to do with Lily?" The woman's eyes softened. She looked at the child, who clung tighter to her father's arm. "The seed chooses," she whispered. "It searches for a mind that can carry it, hold it, keep it alive. When I came to your door, I thought I had chosen by chance, but the seed had already chosen her." Mark's chest froze. His hand gripped the bat so hard his knuckles turned white. No, you're wrong. She's just a little girl. She's not part of this. She's not—" "She is," the woman interrupted, her voice sharp now. "That is why the hunters came. That is why they will never stop. They do not fear me anymore. They fear her." Lily's eyes were wide, shining with tears. "Daddy, I don't want them to take me." Mark pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "They won't. I'll never let them. Do you hear me?" The woman's gaze lingered on them both. "You are brave. But courage is not enough. The hunters will come again, stronger, and the seed cannot be destroyed. If you run, they will find you. If you hide, they will wait. The only way forward is to stand." Mark shook his head, his voice breaking. "I'm not a soldier. I'm not a hero. I fix machines. I work double shifts just to keep the lights on. How the hell am I supposed to fight this?" The old woman leaned forward, her frail body trembling. "Because you are human, and humans are the most dangerous kind of life. Not because of strength, not because of weapons, but because you fight hardest when you have nothing left. That is what the hunters do not understand. That is why they will always underestimate you. Mark looked at her, stunned. Her words hit something deep in him, a truth he had never put into words. He thought of the years after his wife died, the nights he thought he couldn't go on and how he kept moving anyway. For Lily. But the thought of dragging his daughter into a war she never asked for. It made his stomach twist with rage. He slammed the bat onto the table. No, I won't let some alien war decide her life. I won't let her carry your damn seed. The object pulsed brighter as if reacting to his anger. The hum filled the room again. Lily whispered, "Daddy, it's talking to me." Mark froze. He looked down at her. Her small hand hovered near the glowing stone. And when she touched it, the light spread across her skin. Silver lines crawled up her arm, faint but real. Her eyes widened, not with fear this time, but wonder. "I can hear them," she whispered. "Voices, so many voices." "They're scared," the old woman's voice broke. "The seed has awakened in her. The choice is made." Mark pulled Lily's hand back, his voice shaking with fury. "No, she's not your vessel. She's my daughter." The woman looked at him with sorrow. "She is both, and soon the hunters will know." A sound outside cut the air, a low rumble growing louder. The floor trembled. Mark rushed to the window. His blood turned to ice. In the sky above the neighborhood, lights flickered through the clouds. Not planes, not stars. Ships. Dozens of them. The old woman's silver eyes glowed again, brighter than before. She whispered the words like a warning, like a prophecy. "They are coming, Mark, not for me, not for the seed, but for her." Mark held Lily close, staring at the sky filled with approaching lights. His whole body shook, but his voice was steady when he spoke. "Then let them come. They'll see what happens when you try to take a human child." The night sky was no longer dark. From the broken window, Mark stared upward, his chest tight. Between the clouds, silver lights flickered and moved, silent ships gliding above the earth. Some were small, like hunters. Others were vast, their outlines so large they covered whole sections of the sky. Lily pressed her face into his chest, trembling. He could feel her heartbeat racing against his own. "They're here," she whispered. Mark's arms tightened around her. "I won't let them touch you." Behind him, the old woman sat weakly in her chair, her glow faint but steady. Her eyes lifted to the sky, filled with sorrow. "This is only the beginning," she said softly. "The hunters do not travel alone. Wherever they walk, their masters follow. A fleet, an empire. They have come to claim what is yours before you even realize what you are losing." Mark turned to her sharply. "Then tell me how to stop them. Tell me what the hell I'm supposed to do." The woman studied him for a long moment. Her frail body seemed ready to break, but her silver eyes blazed like fire. "You have two choices," she said. "Run, and they will chase you until you fall. Or stand and become what they fear." Mark's jaw clenched. "And what exactly do they fear?" She pointed at Lily. The little girl's eyes widened, shimmering faintly with silver light now, as though the seed had left its mark on her. "They fear what she will become. Humans were never meant to hold the seed, yet she carries it already. That makes her dangerous to them. If she survives, she will be more than I ever was." Mark's throat tightened. "She's a child. She's not your weapon." The woman's voice grew stronger, sharper. "She is not mine. She is yours. And that is why you must choose. Protect her and hide her away, or stand and let her light burn against them." Mark paced across the ruined room, his mind in chaos. He thought of the years he spent working double shifts, the quiet meals with Lily, the way she laughed when he carried her on his shoulders. She was his whole life. He had promised to keep her safe, but now the sky was filled with ships. He couldn't keep her safe by pretending the world hadn't changed. He slammed his fist onto the table, his voice shaking. "I can't let her fight your war. She deserves a childhood. She deserves peace." The woman's face softened. "No child in any world has peace when empires hunger for power. You think you can keep her small, fragile, hidden? That is not love, Mark, that is fear." Mark turned, his eyes burning. "And you? What right do you have to say that?" "You brought this here. You put her in danger." The woman lowered her head. "Yes, and I will pay for it with what life I have left. But the choice of what comes after is yours." A rumble shook the ground. Outside, in the distance, beams of light swept across the horizon. Not searchlights, ships landing, cutting through the air like blades. Lily gasped and grabbed her father's hand. "Daddy, they're closer." Mark pulled her close, his chest aching. His whole body screamed to run, to hide, to protect. But the old woman's words echoed in his mind. Run, and they will chase you until you fall. He looked at Lily, her small hands clutching his shirt, her wide eyes glowing faintly now with the seed's power. He saw fear, but also something else, strength. Mark knelt down in front of her. His voice was low, shaking. Lily, do you feel it? The voices? She nodded slowly. Yes, they're scared. They want me to help them, but I don't understand how. Tears burned in Mark's eyes. You're just a kid. You shouldn't have to understand. Lily's voice trembled, but it was steady. But I can't let them hurt you, or hurt everyone else. Mark's heart broke and swelled at the same time. His daughter, the little girl he had tried so hard to shelter, was already braver than he had ever been. He stood, turning to the old woman. If we fight, what happens? The woman's silver eyes glowed brighter. Then humanity takes its first step into the stars. Not as prey, but as hunters of their own. Mark breathed heavily, staring at the shattered door, at the sky full of alien ships. His life had been nothing but struggle. Dead-end jobs, unpaid bills, the weight of loss. But maybe all that suffering had been preparing him for this moment. He clenched his fists. His voice was iron now. Then we fight. I don't care what it takes. I don't care who they are. No one takes my daughter. No one takes my world. The old woman slowly rose from her chair, her frail body glowing again with new strength. She smiled faintly, almost with pride. Then you are ready. The seed chose well. Lily stepped forward, holding her father's hand. For the first time, she did not look afraid. Her eyes glowed brighter, silver threads running across her skin. Outside, the ground shook again. Shadows moved through the trees. The hunters had returned, and this time they were not alone. Above them, the clouds tore open and a massive ship descended, larger than any building Mark had ever seen. Its surface bristled with weapons, its lights blazing across the town. The woman whispered, "The masters have arrived." Mark pulled Lily close, his voice steady, fierce. Then let's show them what it means to fight a human. The sky thundered as the first blasts of alien fire rained down. The ground shook as the massive ship descended through the clouds. Its shadow swallowed the town, stretching over houses, streets, and fields. Lights glared from its hull, cold, merciless. Mark stood in the broken doorway, his bat still in one hand, his daughter's fingers clutching the other. Behind him, the old woman leaned heavily against the wall, her body trembling, but her silver eyes locked on the sky. "They're here," she whispered. "The masters of the hunters. They will not stop until the seed is theirs." Mark swallowed hard, fear clawing at his throat. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't chosen. But Lily was, and that was all that mattered. He bent down to her level, brushing the hair from her face. "Stay close to me, Lily. No matter what happens, I won't let them take you." Her eyes glowed faintly now, silver threads running across her skin. She nodded, her voice small but steady. "I trust you, Daddy." The first wave came. Dozens of hunters poured from the trees, tall and faceless, their glowing blades raised. They moved as one, silent and fast, closing in around the house. Mark tightened his grip on the bat. His heart hammered, but he refused to back down. The old woman raised her hand, blue fire sparking weakly from her veins. She shouted words in her alien tongue, and a barrier of light formed around the house. The hunters slammed against it, their weapons sparking as they struck again and again. But the barrier flickered. She was too weak. It would not hold long. Mark turned to her. "You can't do this alone." Her silver eyes locked on him. "Then fight with me." The barrier shattered. The hunters surged forward. Mark swung his bat with everything he had, smashing into the first creature that crossed the threshold. The wood splintered against its armor, but he didn't stop. He roared, driving it back, his muscles burning. The old woman unleashed another blast of light, throwing 2 hunters into the walls. Her body shook, her glow flickering, but she fought on. And then Lily stepped forward. Mark shouted, "No! Stay back!" But it was too late. The glowing object in her hands pulsed with power. Her eyes blazed silver. The seed had awakened fully inside her. A wave of light burst from her small body, pushing back the hunters like a storm. They staggered, their blades dimming. For the first time, they hesitated. The old woman's voice cracked with awe. "She carries it already. The seed accepts her." Mark's heart twisted. He wanted to shield his daughter, but he couldn't deny what he was seeing. She was no longer just a child hiding in fear. She was standing against monsters the house could not hold. The hunters pressed harder, slashing walls apart, tearing through the roof. Smoke filled the air. Sparks flew. The old woman coughed, blood mixed with light spilling from her lips. She fell to her knees. I cannot hold them much longer. The choice must be made now. Mark knelt beside her, desperate. What choice? She grabbed his arm with surprising strength. I can give her what remains of me. My power, my knowledge. She will survive the night, but I will not. If I keep it, we all die. Mark's chest clenched. No, you can't put that weight on her. She's just a kid. The woman's silver eyes softened. No, Mark, she is more than that. She is hope. Your kind does not see it yet, but she is the first step. Humanity will rise through her. That is what the hunters fear. Lily's voice was quiet but firm. Daddy, let her. I can do it. Mark felt tears burn his eyes. He wanted to scream no. He wanted to lock her away, protect her from everything. But outside, the sky split with alien fire, and he knew, if they didn't act now, there would be no tomorrow. His hand shook as he nodded. Then do it. But I'm staying with you. The old woman pressed her glowing hand to Lily's chest. Light surged between them, flooding the room. The air hummed, walls trembling, glass shattering. Mark shielded his eyes, holding onto his daughter's hand as tightly as he could. The woman's frail body crumbled, her glow pouring into Lily, leaving behind only ash. Her last whisper filled the air like an echo. Humanity must rise. The hunters charged again, but Lily was no longer just a child. Silver light poured from her skin, wrapping around her like armor. Her small figure stood tall, unbroken. With a single gesture, she raised a shield of energy that stopped the hunters mid-strike. Their blades shattered like glass against it. Mark stared in shock. Lily! Her voice was calm, almost not her own. I can hear them, Daddy, all the voices inside the seed. They're telling me what to do. She lifted her hand and the air itself seemed to bend. Energy rippled outward, a wave so strong it blasted the hunters into dust. Above, the massive ship fired its weapons. Beams of fire cut down toward the earth. But Lily raised both hands, her silver eyes burning, and the beams split apart in the sky, scattering into harmless sparks. Mark watched, tears streaming down his face. His little girl, the one he tucked in every night, the one he thought he had to protect from the world, was protecting the world herself. The ship trembled in the air, its lights flickering. For the first time, the masters faltered. Their enemy was no longer the frail woman they had hunted. It was a child of Earth, blazing with power they had never feared before. The hunters retreated, vanishing into the shadows. The massive ship pulled back into the clouds, its lights fading, its roar echoing into the distance. Silence returned. The house was broken, the town scarred, but Earth still stood. Lily's glow dimmed. She collapsed into her father's arms, exhausted, trembling. Mark held her close, his voice breaking. You did it. You saved us, she whispered weakly. I'm tired, Daddy. He kissed her forehead, holding her as if he would never let go. Rest now. I've got you. He looked at the horizon where smoke rose and the first rays of dawn touched the sky. The battle was over, for now. But the war had only begun. Because above the clouds, hidden in the stars, more ships waited, and Earth had just taken its first stand.